I want my brother out of there. It may be fine for persons who can care for themselves, but Kevin cannot do that. They are understaffed, they are overworked, and he is going to die there at their hands because of neglect. And it's not going to happen. When Kevin goes, it's going to be on God's terms.
After the Tulsa World began an investigation into the October death of a veteran found with maggots in his wounds, the Oklahoma Department of Veterans invited us to come and see what the state-run nursing home where he lived is really like.
We've had visits to the facilities by legislatures, by concerned members of the public, and they've went on facility tours and found the facility to be very nice, to be clean, for the building in good condition, and our staffing to be adequate. So I think we're in the midst of the realizing that some of the initial reports didn't present all of the facts. So
we observed plenty of nurses and even physical therapists working with patients. And just as our official tour guides pointed out at every turn, the facility was clean and odor-free. There's just one problem.
The day that y'all came, they had more staff than what they normally have. Plus, they pulled people from the upper floors to be down on the lower floors to make it look like there's more people there working. To make it look better just for y'all. Just to make it look better.
This healthcare worker, who insisted on meeting in a remote location miles from tiny Talihina for fear of being seen speaking to the media, shed new light on Mr. Peterson's death.
You could smell, that it was an awful, awful smell that just lingered in the hallways. It was terrible. And his dressings would be saturated, and that they would be terrible, and there were ants found on the dressings at times, and they would just reinforce dressings instead of actually changing them. And his skin on the back of his legs started sloughing off, and stuff, and up through his buttocks and up his back. And then at the end, he had so many maggots that they took him in on a trolley bed and had to hose him off after he was deceased to get the maggots. He should never have been left there. To me, he was eaten alive from the inside. Horrific.
While state leaders say it's gotten too difficult to properly recruit and retain employees in this far-flung location, employees of other ODVA nursing homes say the underlying issues are actually systemic.
The problem, like at Talihina, is going on elsewhere. When you spread people that thin, bad things are going to happen. The cuts that started January 1st are going to lead to more near misses and more hits over the next few months. Things are deteriorating in the homes. The care can, despite what the general said on TV, that we're not cutting clinical services. They did. They've cut them, and the veterans are suffering. And there'll be more headlines probably.
Just as that worker predicted, less than 2 weeks after our tour at Talihina, a Sapulpa man in the advanced stages of dementia choked to death after being given food and fluids because caregivers didn't realize he had a plastic bag lodged in his throat.
If they knew that he had a problem with eating inedible things, why didn't they keep him out of his reach? Wouldn't that be the sensible thing to do?
We were originally told one story and then given a different one. Seems like they were intentionally trying to mislead.
State Senator Frank Simpson of Ardmore has called the two men's deaths senseless and the likely result of neglect from poor staffing levels. He's now trying to pass legislation to shutter the Talihina facility and relocate it to a bigger city nearby.
I will not accept any excuse for a veteran's death in our centers other than natural causes. We put them there so that they can survive, they can live the last years of their life, and we don't need to be doing things that detract from the quality of life or that endanger their long-term health in the center. And the two instances I saw, and I think it was shameful that we wanted to make it look like it was the family's fault for not saying this gentleman was in the special needs unit, had a habit of eating plastic. I mean, I would hope that we would monitor the special needs unit so that those things don't happen.
Molly Kimbrough's brother Kevin moved into the Talihina Veterans Center after he became a double amputee in 2015. Staffing levels declined so rapidly last year that Molly said her brother suffered 3 mishaps because of staff mistreatment or neglect by workers stretched too thin. After the latest incident, in which his arm was broken and a misdiagnosis of the location of the break, Kevin was left to languish in pain for nearly a week until his kidneys began to fail from dehydration. Molly is waiting on final paperwork to pull Kevin out of the home and move him to a veterans center in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
I told my dad when I went over to Vietnam, my parents got mad at me because I volunteered, but I said, don't worry about it. Jesus is in my corner. I'll be back in a year to see you. And sure enough, I came back.
They were promised so much more. You and I can sit here and we can talk and I can go wherever I want to go because veterans put their lives on the line. They do not get the care and the benefits that they were promised.
My assistant Glenda, who has really, when we first got, and here's an indication for you, when I first took office and we started really looking into the veteran centers, she was getting 10 to 15 calls a day regarding problems at the centers. It took an emotional toll on her because these were family members that cried and shared their stories. Veterans issues affect me very much so.
I cry all the time. Every day when I leave work, because I think about all the things that have happened there. And in my entire nursing career, I've never seen such devastation.